Welcome everyone to our 2505 Q&A webinar. You are not going to hear much of me because this is my voice right now. So I'm actually going to pass it off to Michael, whom I am trusting with the keys to keep our kingdom on track for the day.
Awesome. Thank you, Katrina, and welcome everybody. Like she said, happy Tuesday, and this is our Q&A webinar. So today, basically, we're going to go through where you can find information about the upgrade. If for some reason you missed that earlier on, we're going to also talk about bugs that you might have seen that have been reported and their status. We'll take time for your questions, of course, because this is a Q&A webinar, so it's all about how we can help you with questions you have. And if we've got time or at the end, we will talk through some of the bug fixes in the point upgrade next week, as well as some of the favorite changes that our educators have from 2505 that we've noted that we really like. Now, I know we kind of already started off with some bad jokes, but I did have another one I wanted to share because it is tradition. So we'll just get this over with. So why don't mummies take time off? Again, it's Halloween themed because we're almost there. They're afraid to unwind.
Everybody groan.
I was
Yeah,
Bad
also
joke.
thinking, I was also thinking maybe they just got too wrapped up in their work.
there you go.
All right, Michael, keep us going. Otherwise, we're going to go way down a rabbit
Okay.
hole.
So you've probably all seen a lot of the Monday Minutes series that have come out where Jesse and Nick have gone through and previewed a lot of the features from the 2505 update. We also have gone through a lot of updates and highlights during our What's New webinar back in August. And you can find all of the links to those videos in our Upgrades Hub. The Upgrades Hub also has the release notes and links to your Koha manual, which has information about that. So that's a great resource for you to keep in mind. And before we get into any of the new features and some of the questions you have, let's talk about any outstanding issues. Our support team has been working really hard to keep track of the current bugs that are occurring in 2505. And we keep track of that in what we call a bug roundup document. And I'm going to show you a quick overview of what this looks like. It's actually on it is on our um, new help portal, and it's got some information here at the top. Lists our early adopters because we are always so thankful for those early adopters for catching some of the big problems that we want to fix before we roll it out to everyone else. And then we've got lists here of bugs that have been identified. Along the left is the bug number. So if you want to go straight to Bugzilla and see some information, you can do that. But we've got the status here. So we've got noted whether we're working on it and where it's at in community. And then if there's any notes about this bug, we've got those over here. So for example, this one, bug 37024, the scrolling glitch that you might have seen on the holdings tables. You can fix it temporarily while you're waiting for the patch by adding this information into your intranet user CSS. And some of these other bugs have information like that as well. And then if you scroll down past those bugs, here's a list of things that will be patched in the 2505-04 point update. That's coming next week. So you'll be getting that in the background during the week of October 27th. These are all bugs that will be fixed in case you're following any of those. There's some notes about new information, new behavior that is not a bug. So if you're noticing something and this might actually be the way that it's intended to work, we've got those listed here. And then, of course, again, thanking our early adopters, some bugs that we were able to fix before we sent the full update out to you all because they were testing things. Okay. And then the last thing that I wanted to cover is some of the bugs that are not listed there that will be fixed in the next point upgrade. And so we've got a complete release notes for the 2505-04, which lists all the bugs and enhancements that are coming in that update. One of those is bug 31460. and that is that merging bibliographic records with attached item groups loses groups. So if you've got one bibliographic record with an item group and another bibliographic record with an item group and you merge them, currently Koha's only keeping the item group from the MARC record that you're merging into, but this bug will fix that so that both item groups during the merge will remain. Bug 40739, setting transfers block circ to don't block, didn't allow scanning to continue after the pop-up displayed. So if you're a library that used that bug is going to fix that so that you can keep going through your workflow. Bug 40755, and that is hold cancellation requests would cause errors on the holds waiting page. So if you have a patron that had a hold waiting and they requested a cancellation on their end, it could actually cause a 500 error when you tried to view on your side the holds waiting page, and that will be fixed in next week's point update. All right, we went through a lot of information and a lot of links, and this is kind of the part where we open up to you all. So if you've got questions about the 2505 update, any bugs you've noticed, any questions about that, then the floor is up to you all.
Okay, we have a very long question in the chat from Kimberly. Related to bug 39331, we migrated about a year ago, so most of our guarantor relationships are not linked to the parents' cards. They're listed as a non-patron guarantor. I found an account for an adult that was previously a child that still lists the parent's name under the guarantor, but when I edit the account, no guarantor field shows, so I can't remove the parent's name. Is this related to our bug or something different? This is still happening after the update. I can immediately say this is something different, but I'm going to let one of the educators talk about what's actually going on here. And Kimberly, we're probably going to ask you to go ahead and open a ticket so we can get this fixed for you. But anyone want to jump into that one?
I'll bite. My first guess would be that your adult patron category is not set up as a can be guarantee, which hides that guarantor information field.
Yeah. So it's a hidden field. It's not a big deal. We can help you fix that, Kimberly. But if you would go ahead and open a ticket, and we'll get that worked on for you. No problems with that one. But it's not the bug. Wish it was an easier answer, but it's going to be okay. We can help you fix that. So. And then Bob has a question. When we put in a patron's name and they are the only result, it used to go directly to the patron's record. And now it goes to search results, even if there's only one search result showing.
That's fixed. Well, that's fixed in main. It hasn't been backported to 2505 yet. But it is flagged to become so, and we expect it to become so.
So it wouldn't be in the next week's update, but it might be in the...
Correct.
Okay.
Okay, that's
We
all
have that listed in our bug roundup as a coming next week. We might need to correct that if that's wrong.
Let me check real quick. We might have backported it locally then, just for the Bywater builds. I will confirm that.
All right. No more chats. Oh, yeah, we do. Okay, one more question. In acquisitions, some of our basket information is showing up in red. We do use EDI ordering. Is there a reason for the red?
We started seeing this recently with some of our other partners. When a order has an uncertain price, that can cause, historically, let me see how I want to. The red is coming from an order that has an uncertain price. What we've been seeing recently is that an uncertain price in one order can cause all baskets for that vendor to show up in red. I don't have the fixed progress up in front of me yet, but someone who is not talking has maybe located that while I've been saying words. There we go. Thank you, Katrina. Bug 39514. Katrina with the fast searching as always.
Two more questions. One of our staff noticed the return to results link is no longer showing after you click on an item record from a search result. Was this purposely removed? Pretty sure no. Or is this a setting we can turn back on? It shouldn't be touched at all. So we'll look into that, Kimberly, and figure out what's going on there. Because has anyone else seen that one? I haven't run across that, but I'm not in it as much as you guys are every day. Yeah, from the puzzled looks on the educators' faces, I don't think they've seen it either. So we'll look into that one for you and see what's going on there.
There is a bug. No, there is a bug for that. I just have to find it. Kimberly,
We just
there's
need
a bug
Katrina
for
to
that.
talk more. It just sounds so funny. Okay, so there's a bug for that. She's going to find it. We have another question. Is there some place to look at the list of fixes going into 2505? And David has already jumped on that. Awesome. Okay, and then we have a Q&A. How do you implement bug 36729? Can we see could you do a Monday minute so we can see the process? I don't know what bug that is.
That is adding
That
the new
one-
publisher distributor number to the standard identifier search index. And so it's something that for new implementations or new installs, that's already built in. But if they're not, then we would have to, I believe we would need to submit a ticket for that to get that added into your site.
That is correct. Okay, go ahead, Andrew.
I have confirmed that bug 40865 to redirect on a single patron search is in the build that folks are going to next week.
Yay, you're welcome. Because trust me, it annoys a lot of us too as we're practicing stuff. Okay, last question. When using batch item deletion, there's now an option to check delete serial issues linked to items. This showed up around the update. If we don't use serials, can we hide this option? That is going to be another one we're going to need to look at that, Kimberly, to see if we can, if it's a class, so we can hide it with CSS. And I may not have used those words right, but it sounded good. But we're going to look at it and see if it is something that we can hide. And again, we'll let you know.
Also, there was a question above, what does that even mean? And that is for people who use serials and subscriptions. So if you're not using it, that's something you can ignore. If you go into the serials module, that is something you will also see in the left menu panel. But I have not actually tested it because I became aware of this just recently as well. And so I don't know exactly how it works. So stay tuned. We're going to learn on that one too.
Yeah, Kimberly, the best thing is to tell them just to ignore it. But we all know that we have people that just I can't let it go. I need to see this, or I need to get this gone. But yeah, okay. Bug 38689 mentioned that the Edifact errors will log to a staff accessible location. Could you show where that location is? Everyone's looking
That
at
is
the bug.
well, that's a tough one. That's a tough one for us to show because in our test sites, we are not doing live EDI ordering, so we're not generating those issues. But if there are any snazzy EDI users out here who would be able to share a screenshot in the partner list or chat or something, I think that could be really helpful there. Somebody's got a better answer, jump in.
Okay, so that's another one we're going to add to our list of things to look into and see what's going on. Sorry, we don't have an answer right now, but we will get one. Susan in Marion County. Hey, Susan. When doing a search that returns a number of results, there seems to be an issue where you can't browse to the next record. You instead have to go back to the search list. Is that related to the other thing we were just seeing?
I believe that is.
Okay.
So when you do a search and you select several records and you're browsing the selected records, and you start looking at them, you'll have that option in the upper left corner to browse back and forth between the list. And that is missing. And I'm not sure if that's, I think that's a bug.
That's the bug that Heba linked to
Oh, gotcha.
404.
Okay. So Andrew has just informed us that the serial issue, hiding that serial issue delete, is not something we can do right now. It has to be done through jQuery, and we are not adding new jQuery to partner sites. So that's not something we're not going to be able to hide, unfortunately. I do like the idea of filing a bug, though, to say, if you're not using serials, don't show me this. And honestly, that's what our approach is. For quite a while, we've kind of done things with and our devs have said this, so it's not, I'm not, throwing shade on them. Our devs have often said, oh, well, let me just use some jQuery to hide it. As Koha continues to get more complex, the jQuery breaks on a regular basis as we do upgrades. And so we've just made the decision to stop doing that because we need to fix Koha to make it work the way it needs to work instead of just doing jQuery and things like that. So what we're doing now is whenever we get one of these situations, we find out if we can fix it. If we can't, we say nope, but we'll get a bug filed so that we can go ahead and have that as an option. So
someone in the Q&A typed in 201957. We are not sure what you're asking about. So if you would restate your question.
That was a
then that's
ticket
a
number.
typo.
That was a ticket number from earlier. So they had asked about a specific ticket, and then that was the ticket number.
Okay.
Okay, well, we will go ahead and kick things over to our educators who have selected some of their favorite 2505 updates and enhancements and bug fixes. Of course, feel free to continue to ask questions in the chat as we're going. But first of all, I'm going to give the floor to Esther.
Yeah, so I'm going to first mention a couple that we didn't cover in our What's New webinar. The first, or maybe we did and I don't remember, but the first is the ability, I'm skipping ahead, David, sorry, to send email receipts for payments and write-offs manually. So before that was an all or nothing. It was as far as automatic. You either had it on and it was sent automatically, or it was off and you couldn't send it. But now you can opt in the patron account to send it manually. The next one is about authority linking. And this might make some people happy that are doing authorities, is the authority linker should consider diacritics. So there was a problem where the linker would not link because there were diacritics. And now you can go and turn on a system preference to consider that when your the linker is running. So that's just for those people who are doing authority work. A couple others that I liked that we covered previously. The shelving location on the holdings table has its own column. Love that because it was so hard to see before. Now it's broken out, separate column. And then, of course, everybody's favorite, I had to grab that one to talk about, is that the collapsible items and being able to navigate through items in the records and go directly to the item. Love that. That's bug 7508. And then, of course, acquisitions and navigating vendors. If you had a lot of vendors, searching and loading the vendors list was slow and cumbersome. Now it's on a table with data table tools and I think it has data table tools. Anyway, it loads as a table, easier to sort and find, loads faster. Love that. So those were my favorites that came in this update. So if there aren't any other questions, I'm going to hand it over to David to talk about his favorite.
Thanks, Esther. So the first bug that I want to talk about, and I may have covered it within the What's New webinar, but I just think it's so awesome. It's bug 38356, and let me get the link in here. and that is the system preference check prev checkout should also check current loans. So there's another system preference that allow multiple issues on a biblio is enabled. And if that's not enabled, then this change isn't really relevant. But if your patrons can check out multiple copies of a title, with this new update to check prev checkout, if they go to check it out, a little pop-up will come up saying, hey, they currently have this item, or sorry, the patron has this title currently checked out. So it's just some added functionality of that system preference. Another one that I thought was pretty neat is bug 39238, and that one adds links towards private lists in the bibliographic record detail page in staff interface. So as a staff member, if you are you have a private list with that record, that list should show up in addition to the public lists. I'm excited to try that one out. And then my third one I had was previously mentioned, and just to put that on there again, that is bug 39331 about guarantor relationships not being removed when changing the patron category. So we already kind of talked about that one, but I was excited for that one as well. And if there are no questions on those bugs and updates, I'm going to pass it over to Heba.
So my first one was one I definitely did not talk about in the webinar, and I don't think any of us talked about it in the webinar. And that is bug 37250, redesign labels homepage to match other module homepage. And this is just a tiny little quality of life improvement that I stumbled upon training another library, and I was like, oh, that's neat. And basically, if you remember from the old cataloging tool, and this is the built-in catalog tool, the built-in label creator tool in Koha, you used to have like just a very minimal screen with nothing going on, and then two drop downs that were new, and I think it was modify. And now all of the existing label batches, layouts, templates, printer profiles, go right on that homepage. So it's really easy to go in there and work with an existing layout that you're tweaking and tinkering with. So just a tiny little thing that really improves that quality of life. I'm also really excited about bug 32034, and I know we did talk about this in the webinars. That is the addition of branch transfers being logged. So I know we had a kind of a gnarly bug in 2411 with extra transfers being generated. Like the more visibility you get on a table that you can really, previously you could really only access it from a branch transfers report. Getting that visibility in the action logs has been huge. And then another one that is we talked about this during the upgrade webinar, but bug 32440, allowing libraries to selectively purge their statistics table with the cleanup database cron. We've been getting a number of tickets lately from libraries that are really looking at their privacy policies in light of current events and current legislation. And this gives libraries that extra bit of another lever they can pull if they are trying to protect their patron privacy. So this is one that's like not the sexiest of bugs, but it's really great for patron privacy, which we all, I think, value. And that's my roundup. I'm gonna kick it over to Holly for a special round of bugs.
I'm gonna do the thing where I make everybody awkwardly pause for a moment. Any 2505 questions that you all didn't come in already written down, but that have come up as people have been going over some of these changes. I haven't seen anything else come in. But certainly you guys didn't just come here to listen to us talk, right? No, you came for the jokes. Anyway, so normally our the Koha point upgrades don't contain much in the way of enhancements. This one, the 250504 coming next week, does have a few exciting small changes that are coming. The first one I want to talk about is with bug 40395, there's now the possibility to select multiple holds from a patron's account. So I'm in a patron account page. I'm looking at their checkouts table and looking at the holds. I can select multiple holds and take an action on all selected holds. So I can suspend all selected holds. I can change the pickup location for multiple holds at once. That's a nice new usability feature. Then we've got bug 37883. That one introduces a new system preference. How dare they bring us a new system preference at a point upgrade, but I promise it's cool, it's worth it. The new system preference is filter search results by logged in branch when enabled. So when we've got that turned on, if I search the catalog, that search will default to show me results from the branch I am logged in at. I don't need to go in and set that in my search parameters or my advanced search. Of course, I can always switch my settings for my specific search to see everything. Right?
If I could hop in for a second.
Yeah.
We just had that conversation about 5 minutes ago about how we did a lot of stuff with jQuery historically that really should be how Koha works. And this is one of those features that has finally made it into Koha proper. So if you're looking at this going, but we already do that, we probably had some jQuery in there doing it, and now it's going to be a proper function.
Yeah, thanks, Heba. Yeah, so if you have been setting kind of a default limit of only showing your local results with jQuery, that jQuery is no longer relevant, and we should get that cleaned up. We invite you to open tickets about that if that is you and your library. Okay, next we've got a couple of improvements to how logs work. The first one is merging two patron accounts is now logged. That's with bug 22632. So patron merges are now captured in logs. And our second new addition to logs, anytime someone overrides a circulation rule, so anytime a staff person overrides a circulation rule for, a checkout, for example, that will be logged as well. And that is bug 9762, 4-digit bug that's been out there in the community for a long time. So exciting that we've got that. Yay for all the logs. I agree. Let's see. What else do we have coming up?
There was a lot of log updates in this one, wasn't there?
Yeah.
So yeah, kudos to the community. And I think we should name this one what, like the Lincoln Log Dev, right?
Nope. Anyway, so there's another new system preference. The next thing I'm going to talk about. Oh man, and David in the chat too. Okay. All right, we've also got an enhancement with bug 23010. If an item is currently checked out, or if it is in transit between two locations, it should not be able to be marked as withdrawn. We all know that, but there is now a new system preference that blocks that, and that preference is prevent withdrawing items status. So you can now set that and force that behavior. Thanks. Last one that I've got on my list, bug 39824. There's now a direct link to the default framework in the MARC bibliographic frameworks page. That just makes it, for those of you who get in there and care about your MARC frameworks, makes it a little quicker to navigate and get in to look at the MARC structure for the default framework. So that's not really a big change, just a really minor ease of use. making that a little easier to navigate. So kind of a lot of enhancements for a point upgrade, but there's some nice ones in there that don't affect performance a lot, but make things just a little smoother, hopefully, or in a little better logged. Do we have any other questions that have come in? If not, Sarah's got some favorite 2505 bugs.
All right, so the first couple I've got are ones that we did talk about during the What's New webinar, but they've come up a couple times in tickets, so just want to point them out in case people haven't seen them. The first two are kind of grouping them together. For 37211, which is all notes in the patron accounts transactions table should be editable, and 23674, allowing notes on all entries in the patron transactions table. So previously you could only add notes to payments or write-offs. Now, if you void a charge, issue a refund, cancel a charge, you could add a note to those as well. So it just is more kind of tracking and transparency. And then in addition, with the appropriate permission, you can edit notes that are already there. So if you had a note with, let's say, a check number and you realize the check number was mistyped, you can go in and fix that. So it just adds some more tracking ability to transactions. Next one is bug 35028, which is adding an OPAC self-registration alert on the staff interface main page. So on the staff interface main page below all of your modules, there's that little alert section that has alerts for purchase suggestions, requests for patrons to change their account information. And now, in addition, there is an OPAC self-registration alert. So anyone who is in the self-registration patron category as defined in your system preferences, as long as someone is in that category, they'll show up linked from that that alert. It essentially brings you to a patron search for that category. So it's a nice, easy way to see who is in that self-reg category. That usually the workflow is they need to be updated to a full category.
Gosh, Andrew, you and Sarah and I know have done those workarounds for that exact functionality a number of times in the past. So great to see it in there. Question about that. Does that work for Aspen too?
Yep, that one should. Yep, if they self-reg in Aspen, it should show up just like a self-registration, as long as it's that same account that you've got linked in your system preference. All right, and then the last one, I don't believe we included in the What's New webinar, just because there's so many good ones that we wanted to cover and we only had so much time, but it's bug 26744, which is log changes to extended patron attributes. So now when you look in a patron's modification log, previously, if you made changes to their attributes, that was not logged. Now it is. So you can see, if you had, let's say, someone's county listed as an attribute, you can go in and see the history for that attribute, just like you can see any other history for other information in their account. So again, just more transparency and ability to track.
Excellent. And we have a great question from Elizabeth. 37211. If a line in the transaction table doesn't already have a note, can you edit it to add a note? Andrew saying yes. You have made us all very happy, Andrew.
Now that I have to go look at the page and double confirm that. But yeah, I mean, it has a space for a note. There's just nothing in it yet. But yeah.
So if I had put a note, if I'd done something a year ago, once I get this update, I can go ahead and go back into those and do that and fix it. Excellent.
That was the really frustrating thing about this bug in the first place. Every transaction had a place for a note. It's just we didn't usually give you any way to access that place to put something there, and it was silly.
And the one thing I will say just real quick about that one is that the ability to edit notes does require a new permission. It's edit_account_line_notes. It's in the update charge group. There's no new permissions for adding notes to the types of transactions that did not allow them previously. But if you are editing notes, including adding a note after the fact using that edit button, you will need that edit account line notes permission. It is not selected by default unless someone had that top line update charges permission selected. So if you
That's a really important one that that I just talked over at the end of what she was saying, but that's a really important one that Sarah was saying. Is that permission, if they don't already have that top level permission, will need to be added. Okay, because it is a functionality that didn't exist previously, it needs to be turned on, just like with system preferences. If it didn't already exist, we don't turn them on by default. So you will need to go in there and update your permissions for your folks to do that one. And it is edit_account_line_notes. And Atomic has confirmed that you can add a note to an existing transaction in there. So we are 100% positive with that one. Scrolling back just a little bit, Kimberly asked another question, which is a really great one that we talk about all the time, but most people aren't aware of, is how long are logs kept for? Okay, so the silence that you are hearing, Kimberly, is because it depends. That is something that is customizable in the cleanups and all of that sort of stuff. So some libraries, they keep this log for this long and this log for this long and things like that. I think our default is 6 months. Can anyone confirm that for me? Okay, the default is 6 months, but we can shorten. Thank you, Katrina. But we can shorten that if needed. We don't necessarily suggest lengthening that in most cases because it just fills up really quickly. But if you have specific scenarios that you're interested in, let us know. We're always happy to talk about those.
And you can, if you need to, have different timing for different logs also.
Yes. Yeah. And of course, Andrew is correct. It is 180 days, not 6 months. It is very important. It actually is. It's 180 days, not 6 months.
I've definitely done the plug in two dates in an online date calculator while troubleshooting a partner ticket with trying to track down a problem. So yeah, it does matter.
Any other questions?
Yeah, we
Yeah, I
did
know
have
we're
a
not
lot of
done yet, but this has been a really great webinar with the questions and all of those sorts of things. We love it because yeah, usually is the educators just like meandering around saying stuff. So we love this interaction. We love getting these questions because not only does it help, everyone that's here, but it helps us make sure that we kind of address some of the stuff in our documentation and maybe any forthcoming questions of the week that we might need to be filling out, things like that. Can we request longer than 180 days if our library does not have much activity in your logs? Carmel, typically yes. And there are some that we don't worry about how long they are for, but there are some that are just huge. But yeah, go ahead and submit a ticket and tell us kind of what you're looking at. And we're more than happy to say, that might be a problem, or yeah, no problem, we can do that one. So yep, just go ahead and throw a ticket in. All right, Atomic, what's next?
We had a unanswered question from our initial upgrades webinar that it looks like we've got some follow-up on in here. In the upgrade webinar, we were demonstrating a bug 35635, which allows different settings for the OPIC and staff interface for mandatory patron attributes. And there was a question there about how that played with self-registration, especially with Aspen. So someone wanted to know, how does that translate to Aspen self-registration? And if, like any other element in a patron account, if a patron attribute is marked mandatory on the staff side, it has to be, things get messed up if any piece of patron data is mandatory on Aspen, mandatory on Koha, but not on Aspen. So in general, a tip to make sure anything that you've got marked mandatory in your patron account creation form is also mandatory in your Aspen self-registration form.
And specifically with this one, any attribute that is marked mandatory in Koha, whether it's mandatory on the staff side or on the OPAC side, that will make self-registration fail in Aspen. There is a JIRA issue for it. That is, again, just generally about attributes, not about self-registration or about this OPAC mandatory permission or function. So that is being addressed on the Aspen side, but right now an attribute would have to be marked as not mandatory in order for self-registration in Aspen to work.
And if you want to take a deeper dive into some of the features from 2505, you might be familiar with Monday Minutes, which is a super awesome video series that Jesse and Nick from Bywater do. There are some Monday Minutes videos on a few bugs that we didn't cover today yet. And one of those is bug 20747. That is allowing local holds priority to fill by groups in the library system rather than just an individual library, which is really big for a lot of library consortiums where they have library groups inside that consortium. Allows you to basically prioritize holds within that group before they go out to the larger consortium. Then there's bug 39141, and that is adding a search box to the checkout page. So just a simple update that's really helpful, makes things easier when you're looking for something specific. Bug 37588 gives you the ability to mark a suggestion as available directly from the suggestions management page. Again, saving you a couple of clicks, which is always handy. And finally, bug 38694, which is boosting exact title matches in Elasticsearch. And that is related to a system preference. But basically what it does is if you search for something that's got a super common title, for example, maybe you search for The Women, which is a popular book right now, that can be a word that's used in so many different titles. This new enhancement basically boosts, if you search for just The Women, it's going to boost any exact matches with that title up to the top of your search, which is really, really, really handy. And the system preference for that, let me double check here. Elasticsearch Boost Field Match is the system preference for that.
Although I'll note that there is already a follow-up bug to make the boost bigger. Because folks didn't think it got boosted enough.
It's always if you give a mouse a cookie, isn't it?
This is one of those where developers are always testing things on this very small, constrained set of bibs that really makes it hard to see exactly how things will behave in a full library catalog. And in a small set of bibs, the boost was great. You know, really push things to the top, but not so much in a real live catalog. Yeah, Turbo.
I like Heba's suggestion for the match name, for the system preference name for that one. So Elastic Turbo Boost Field Match.
The increased boost is already coded and signed off, but is not QA'd or pushed to Koha yet. So it will be coming in the future.
So there's room to use Heba's name is what the name Heba suggested. That's what you're really saying here.
Okay. Any final questions? Awesome. Well, thank you all so much. You had some amazing questions today. Of course, if you have any questions after this, you can always submit a ticket. You know where to find us. And we will see you all later.
Have a great one, everyone.